It's Weezy FS1. Skip the BS and put everybody after BS. PS, all I spit is FACTS. The best, Skip Bayless, yes, say less. Top of the top, apex, everyday flex. If you ain't got no haters, you ain't poppin', I ain't trying to hate. Let's have a Jordan and LeBron debate. I got time today. Dripping on the chain, my diamonds say what they gotta say. If you think it's a game, I commentate, I ain't gotta play. On in the morning, I own my opponent. My competition is not an issue, it's cotton tissue. Unconventional, controversial, convoluted, unconditional, undeterred and undisputed. Good morning.
Good morning. What a morning. I've never seen anything quite like this morning. Nick Saban, retired. Pete Carroll, fired. And now Bill Belichick fired in New England? What does all this mean? Never, ever before have we seen so many potential big names on the coaching job market, pro and college. We got Belichick, we got Pete Carroll, Jim Harbaugh, Mike Vrabel. Now what does Raiders owner Mark Davis do about hiring Antonio Pierce full-time? Would Jerry Jones consider Belichick if Mike McCarthy loses this Sunday? And who replaces Saban? Would Alabama have the foresight to come after Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders? They should. We'll soon get to all of the above, and Richard Sherman will join me in just a few minutes from Seattle to go deeper and deeper and deeper into Pete Carroll, whom he played for, of course. But first, Belichick, who is, quote-unquote, parting ways with Robert Kraft. Good morning to Michael Irvin. Good morning to Keyshawn Johnson.
Hey.
How are you?
Good, man.
All right, welcome back. Keyshawn, why don't you kick us off here? Did Robert Kraft make a mistake here?
There was no mistake made. They in your opening monologue there, you mentioned the word fired, right? In terms of Bill Belichick. Some say fired, like you, and then some say mutually parting of the ways. And I believe that's the part. If you go back to the earlier in the week when we were having these conversations, what did I say to you, Skip? I said, hey, they'll probably come to some sort of an agreement that will allow Bill to go on about his business unless he decides that, hey, maybe I bring somebody in from the outside to help me from a personnel standpoint. If they could come to that agreement, maybe he stays. Otherwise, there are those opportunities that you just mentioned about all the head coaching vacancies available, because what he is going to do is he's going to coach. He's going to coach football.
Okay.
He's 71 years old, which which is not young, but not old for a guy like this with all the energy and all of the in terms of things. Mr. Kraft could not and would not just flat out fire Bill Belichick.
But you're presupposing that Bill would want to leave, right? I mean, do you think he wanted to stay?
I think he wanted to try to figure out if there was a way to make things work. And that's why they met on Monday. That's why he was gone on Tuesday. Then they met again on Wednesday. And then everything was handed down, apparently, within the last 24 hours or so, about the decision to just go ahead, you go your way, I'll go my way, and give others opportunity to be a head coach, potentially Gerard Mayo, in this situation. I don't think that there is any. First of all, they're going to have a press conference together at noon Eastern time, which I hate because we get right off the air at that point in time. But they're going to have a joint press conference. Usually in these situations, if there was some sort of disdain or adversary relationship or problem, you wouldn't see the owner and the head coach sitting side by side. They would have, the head coach who was fired to issue his press conference, and the owner might have his press conference along with his son, and they may talk about the future moving forward. But no, it was not a mistake by Mr. Kraft or Belichick. At some point in time in life, things do run out. You get burned out. It's the same routine over and over and over again. Doesn't mean that they don't love each other. It just means the working relationship has to go in another course.
Okay, Michael.
Let's historically place this Thursday, January 11th, 2024. I almost, I almost said 2023 when I first got here. this morning, but it's really 2024. And let's place this historically correct. We are talking about, in the last 24 hours, two of the greatest dynasties. No. The two greatest dynasties, or two of, Miami will get mad at me, two of the greatest dynasties ever displayed, ever seen, ever had a chance to be witnessed, and we witness it. Bill Belichick and what he produced in New England, Nick Saban and what he did with Alabama, and both leaving within 24 hours. This is an historic day. We'll talk about it in a lot of ways. We'll talk about it in a lot of contexts and all of that and a lot of conversations around it. But let's make sure we remember the base of what we're seeing here. This is, we will look back on this moment and say, man, I was really living. I saw that as people talk about the history of these two men and some of these other men that we are talking about today, but more primarily Bill Belichick and Nick Saban in the different sports. It's so funny, too, because they ran together. I mean, they're good friends. Their times were equal, were the same times that they dominated. The dynasties were the same time. And they walked away within 24 hours from said dynasties. Now, maybe Bill Belichick could go on and coach, but we got to mark this day. We have to remember this day, man. And I'm telling you, a lot of us are thinking about it and say, man, I can believe I witnessed that, because you may never see this again. You may never see what Bill Belichick just did with the New England Patriots again. It's going to be very difficult as we move towards what is now the landscape of the NFL to do what Bill Belichick has done. So this is historic in every context. Did they make the right decision? Yes. Yes, they made the right decision because it had run its course. All things run their course. You know, to get 20 years in the NFL is incredible. You know, you usually, at the most, you got 6, 7, 8, 10 if you're lucky. 20, never. And Bill Belichick got it. So we got to honor him and give it to him and honor him the right way for what he's accomplished. But absolutely, right now, moving towards this new NFL, moving towards these new players, it was time to make a move with the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick. Now, I've talked about this. Bill is still a great defensive coach. You saw his team this year hold teams to under 10 points in games. They still lost those games. You get Bill in the right situation. I say you got to put him in a situation where he's already a quarterback and already an offensive system, and you get him back to what he used to do, just as a head coach, but you just take care of that defense, and then Bill can still do some winning and maybe even chase that 328 that he's chasing, Skip.
Okay, allow me this. I don't want to come across this morning like I'm, quote-unquote, dancing on Bill's grave, because there's no grave here. He's still a relatively young man, and I'm sure he'll have lots of opportunities to coach wherever he chooses to coach. We will get to all that as this show unfolds. But I'm not this morning going to back off what I've been saying about Bill for, 10, 15 years. When you guys revere him and honor him and elevate him as the greatest coach ever, I just can't go there. I've given both of you greatest defensive mind ever, greatest defensive coordinator ever. But when it comes to being the greatest head coach, I still say in New England, he was in large part a product of Tom Brady. 75% of the credit I gave from the start to Tom, 25% to Bill. I'm not giving him 0, I'm giving him 25%. But if you look hard at Bill's resume, he was in Cleveland as the head coach, and he had losing seasons 3 out of 4, and then he got fired. And then he goes to New England, and he had a losing season, and he lost his first 2 games, and then you know what happened. Tom Brady fell out of 6th round heaven into his lap, and history happened. And it happened, and it happened, and it happened. And 6 Super Bowls happened, although all 6 were won with fourth quarter overtime game-winning drives by Tom Brady. All right, so then the moment they pushed Tom out the back door, and I still believe they pushed him out the back door because they thought he was done, and he obviously wasn't. He proved them wrong in Tampa. But the moment they pushed him out the back door, the slide began. And you can just trace it to that pivotal, seminal, watershed moment. No Tom Brady, no more hope in New England. And they slide slowly into the sunset all the way to this year, 4-13. And I'm pretty sure we can all agree it wasn't going to get better next year. And we can talk all about Bill had total control, agency, and he would swing and miss way too often. And not only did they fall to 4-13, but I can make a case that of the now available NFL jobs on the market, this is the worst one because the cupboard is pretty bare. I don't see a lot there. Maybe there's a couple pieces on defense, but man, I don't see a lot. And will they elevate Gerard Mayo, which has been widely speculated? Is Mike Vrabel still in the mix maybe to replace Bill Belichick? Maybe. But the point is, when you look at the biggest picture, Bill Belichick is 13 games under 500 as a head coach without Tom Brady. So now I say buyer beware on the open market because are you sure you're going to get a slam dunk, no doubt, turn my program around head coach? I just don't know.
Skip.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Skip,